it's Isabel, A Curious Tale. Welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to do a quick video sharing 4 tarot decks, and these are decks that are on the surface very bright, whimsical, fun, oftentimes very feminine, and I just wanted to share that much as I love, the dark decks that very clearly tap into the underworld, the subconscious, all of these things, I think these 4 decks are also equally capable of doing that, although they have imagery which might at first appear just very playful. I think there's a time and a place for every deck. I love decks, I'm a big deck collector, so I have a really big collection of decks which have a much darker aesthetic. Just thinking in terms of tarot, some of the classics that come to mind would be Tarot of the Vampires, Deviant Moon Tarot, just so many. I'm just looking over there at my collection. And my own tarot deck, the Purnima Tarot, also sort of delves into dark imagery as well. But the decks I have today, again, I think there are some decks that are very playful and do seem to want to stay on that level, but these are decks that I think are very versatile. So if you're looking for a deck that's bright and fun and you can use it for a sort of affirming reading or a light-hearted reading, but you can equally use it for really delving into things, these would be some of my recommendations. So I'll go into a little more detail, but just to introduce them. This is the Mermaid Tarot by Dame Darcy. I got it about, I think it was in 2014 or 2015, so over 10 years ago. Then we have the Wandering Star Tarot by Kat Pierce. This is a reasonably new addition to my collection, but it was published, I believe, in 2023. Then in here we have Sleep Forever Blythe Tarot, which is a rendering of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but featuring Blythe dolls, which are a sort of collectible doll that I collected since I was about, I think I got my first when I was 14, around about. And then this is the Illuminated Night Goddess Tarot by, sorry, let me check the creator, by Lindsay Silverman. So what to me sets these decks apart is that tarot, like the Good Tarot, for example, it's all about affirmations, which is lovely, but just in my personal opinion, it wouldn't really be suited for delving deeper, and I think that's fine. Every deck has its purpose, but these I think can. So let's start off, because I got it out, with the Illuminated Night Goddess Tarot. Sorry, it's the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot. I'm thinking illuminated because these goddesses are very much illuminated and against the night sky. So I'm sorry, that's the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot. But I think that would be an equally good name. Mine's edged in purple, and some of the major arcanas have been renamed. So this is 7, the Chariot, which has been renamed as Freedom, which is interesting. And then, so we've got 10, Wheel of Fortune, which has been renamed Chance. And basically the deck is a sort of eclectic mix of goddesses, celestial imagery. The court cards are also renamed. This is Warrior for the Knight. We have Queens, and then we have, I believe it's Spirit for the Kings. So just keeping that focus on very feminine energy. And I think it's a really beautiful deck, and what to me puts it in this category of very playful, beautiful, aesthetically pleasing decks that lend themselves to deeper work is just its referencing of goddesses from religions and spiritual traditions around the world, its use of very thought-provoking imagery, very full. Each card has a lot of different elements that you can work from. It's real focus on the idea of divine feminine and artwork, and for this reason I believe that it's a deck that you could use it to do a reading that's focused on beauty, aesthetics, positivity, affirmations, but I think you could equally do a reading that covers subject matter that we might think is more confronting or dark, and it will of course bring this sort of celestial perspective, but I think it will be very good for addressing that kind of query as well. So that the Intuitive Nice Goddess Tarot, it's a stunning deck. I think it's inspires ideas of beauty, it celebrates all kinds of beauty, so I think it's a great deck. I really love it. This is a deck, the Mermaid Tarot by Dame Darcy. She's also created Alice in Wonderland Tarot and I believe another one, but she's a multidisciplinary artist who I've followed for a long time. Her book, How to Be a Hot Witch or Hot Witches, that's such a fun book. I was just looking, it's in my pile over there, but it's pretty buried under a deep stack of books, so you'll just have to take my recommendation on it. It's very fun, but very meaningful. And yeah, this is the Mermaid Tarot. The star is one of my favorite cards, and you can see again, it's bright, it's feminine, although this deck does depict men as well. It's not exclusively feminine figures, but yeah, this is the Three of Pentacles, this mermaid chipping away on a statue and under the sea. I think that's really cool. Oh, and the Chariot I think is an image that's been shared quite a bit from this deck because it's so beautiful. Again, this is a deck that about 10 years ago I really did use a lot, and I still use it, but it's not quite as much in my general rotation as it had been back then, but perhaps this is a sign to bring it back into that. And this is a deck I've used a lot in readings for other people, in client readings, and I think it has that really nice balance of whimsy and fun with the sense that it's actually taking your query seriously, and it is giving you a strong, meaty answer. Four of Swords is another beautiful card. So that's the Mermaid Tarot. Another recommendation for decks that to use when you want a real answer, you want a real, and by which I mean meaty and a meaningful reading, but you also want that inspiration, that feeling of beauty to sort of not soften the blow, but perhaps put it in perspective and keep the feeling motivated. I think sometimes you just know that certain decks might present things in a way that if you're not in the right space, you might not take it as motivating, but I think these decks do. Then let's look at the Wandering Star Tarot by Kat Pierce. This is in order because I love to put my decks in order sometime when I'm going through them, and especially when I'm sort of working with them or bringing my work with them to a different level. So these beautiful colourful drawings, they look like they might have been done with the Copic markers or something like that, but again, each card has a lot going on, a lot of things to look at. And also the creator has added keywords to the cards. So I think this could make the deck something that if you are a beginner reader or a younger reader, that this deck could be really good for getting to know the cards, because when you look at them, you do immediately have something to go on. And of course, this is the creator's choice for keywords. They aren't, you know, the only keywords, but I'm sure anyone using the deck would know that. Again, it does depict men as well, but to me, it still has a very feminine flavor. And yeah, I think, again, it's a deck that initially beautiful to look at, fun, playful, but will be able to give you readings that go beyond these concepts as well. Yeah, I really love a lot of the cards. That the Hermit is a beautiful one, and I want to share a few more of my favorites. I like the Devil. Again, just things like in the Devil, she's wearing a mask. Looks like she's going to a masked ball. There's the snake. There's a lot of symbols that you could really take in a lot of different ways. Despite the fact that the artwork initially might just look frivolous, I think it really isn't. And I think there's something about artwork that initially looks, oh, that's beautiful, and oh, that's nice, and then you start to really go into it and access those other levels. I think there's really something to be gained from that. The deck also has this yes and no card, which is an interesting addition, and I'll just find another of my favorites. This is a really lovely deck just to sort of flick through as well and get inspired. I think it would be really good for creative readings, or readings about how to access your creativity if you have any creative blocks. I think this deck would be great because, again, it's going to address it in a way that feels kind, it feels fun, but it is taking the query seriously. So where is it? I think it's the Page of Pentacles. I really like, with her split dye hair, beautiful, and the card backing as well, lovely. So that's the Wandering Star Tarot. What it says inside the box is there is a universe inside you. So clearly it is a deck that focuses on empowerment, and the guidebook also talks about, you know, the importance of using intuition. So again, it's empowering, beautiful, but great for deeper readings as well. And then, oh, this is so this is just the case I'm using, and I don't know if you can see, this is a Polaroid I took of a spread I did when I was in Nepal last, and one of my dolls, so I just like to keep that in there. Side note, I love Polaroid pictures, and this is the Sleep Forever Tarot by Sleep Forever, a creator who works with Blythe dolls, and has created this beautiful tarot deck, and I believe it was an oracle deck. I got this on Etsy, probably must be at least 6 years ago, probably longer, and this is a well-loved deck. So it's a collage of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but the figures have been replaced by Blythe dolls. So Blythe dolls, they were was it the 60s or something? It was a long time ago they were invented, and just sort of went by the wayside, and then became very popular in Japan, and are now sort of collector dolls. They're famous for the string at the back of their head that you can pull and change the eye colour, which is very cool. And I could probably make a video about Blythe dolls because I love them, and I could definitely go more in depth with this deck. But this deck, again, you might look at it and you might say, these are dolls, and they're sort of superimposed on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. But I think anyone who works a lot with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and when I learned tarot, initially that was one of the decks that I worked with a lot. So I think this is the case for a lot of tarot readers. You can sort of close your eyes and say Seven of Pentacles, and you can see the Rider-Waite-Smith card in your head, which is such a testament to Pamela Coleman-Smith, the artist's work. I think that just shows how iconic the images are and how much they connect with our subconscious and the ideas of archetypes. So I think a lot of tarot readers, even sometimes if you're working with a different deck, you see the Four of Swords, and along with the artist's rendition, you're sort of mentally comparing it to the Rider-Waite-Smith Four of Swords. So that might be for a different deck. Perhaps if you first learned with the Marseille, you might be seeing that, or another one. But I think having that imagery so ingrained, I think these cards just really harken to that, with the added layer of these Blythe dolls. And I think, like, for example here, Ten of Swords, a card that for a lot of people can bring up like feelings of fear or just dejection, giving up. It's a card that obviously, when we really look into it, it's not a negative card in its entirety. The point is giving up what needs to be given up. The point is letting things die so the new dawn can come, even as this card shows very well with what could be a sunset or a sunrise in the background. Yes, it's not a card that people necessarily want to see, but when you see this Blythe doll lying on the floor, it just adds that element of humour that retains the seriousness, the impact of the message. But to me, it just makes it more palatable, and it adds that sense of humour. It reminds you that yes, this is a difficult situation, but you don't have to see everything through these sort of grave eyes. You can also just be a bit more playful with it, and yeah, just have that energy, a slightly more light-hearted energy, while remembering that the real message of the reading while sensing it, but just keeping a bit light-hearted. And if you want a message, you want the truth, you want something very clear, I think this deck is great. Like, look at the Tower. It's still very clear, but it just has that playfulness that, to me, if you're in a certain mood where if you see something you perceive as negative, you're not quite there, that you will see the bigger picture and that it's necessary, it's part of the journey and all of that. I think this deck is great for just giving you the right message, but just keeping it accessible and just giving you a reason to smile as well. Like, look at these cards. I love this deck so much, to the extent that despite enjoying the Rider-Waite-Smith deck a lot, I haven't used it in a really long time because I use this deck instead. This has become my Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I mean, look at this. Like, I love it. And yes, it's very much because I'm such a big fan of Blythe dolls, the work, their creative work by Sleep Forever, the creator. You know, the fact that I have that reference when I work with the deck obviously plays a lot into how much I love it. But honestly, I think if you'd never seen a Blythe doll before in your life and you just saw this deck, I feel like you'd get it. You would. If you're someone who enjoys a hint of kitsch, and you know, that in itself adds a different energy and brings forth different questions, and I think this deck is really great for that. So yeah, that's like, look, this is the Six of Cups. I love it so much. This is one of my top decks. It's one of the decks that I will never part from, and I just think that yeah, it's wonderful. And I've used this deck in combination with other decks. I actually use this deck with the Mermaid Tarot, which might seem strange or a bit jarring, but honestly, the colour scheme of this deck and the colour scheme of Mermaid Tarot goes together very well. And I feel like, you know, these more sort of esoteric focused decks, they can tell you what's going on perhaps in terms of your spiritual path, and then this deck can give you a more practical message for what's going on and have that playful energy just to stop you from getting bogged down in any feelings of worry or anxiety that might come up. So that's my feeling anyway. So those are 4 decks that I would recommend if you want a deck that is fun, it's playful, it's light-hearted, it's creative, but it is fully capable of being that all-rounder that can give you very sharp insight into just questions and issues that might be a little more difficult than simple I would like an affirmation for today, which again is great and necessary. But I think these decks, despite looking on the surface just, oh, these are fun, no, these decks in my collection, they are solid readers and I would recommend them for that. So yeah, let me know what you think. Do you have any of these decks? And what do you think about my tarot ramblings? Should I keep rambling about tarot? Because that's something I could do indefinitely. And I have a lot of other decks that I think fit into this category because it's a category I enjoy. So these were just 4, and I could talk about many more. But yeah, let me know what you think, and please let me know if you have any decks that fit into this like fun and creative category, but they have perhaps a surprising depth to them. So yeah, hope you have a good day or good evening, and hope to see you again soon. So thanks. Bye.